Please note this podcast discusses real-life crimes and may include sensitive topics such as violence, abuse, and other disturbing content. We recommend listener discretion. It has been a time for you to reflect on some incredible stories.
Yeah, there have been so many, and I can't possibly remember them all. But one that does stick in my mind is the day I took a goldfish for a walk.
I'm journalist Helen Fospero.
I'm crime reporter Martin Brunt.
And this is True Criminals.
A journey into the darkest corners of the criminal underworld with insights from decades of true crime reporting.
The stories behind the stories, plus exclusive interviews with those closely involved in notorious cases.
Re-examining crimes so shocking they still haunt our imaginations.
True Criminals Briefings.
I don't know about you, Martin, but this time of year always seems to be the perfect time to reflect. And when I look back at 2025, there were some fantastic moments that come from you and I reuniting as colleagues and working with a fantastic team on True Criminals. There was the moment when we got Outstanding Indie Podcast at the True Crime Awards in the summer. That was amazing. We've had a full year of episodes with incredible guests, but it's also been a really significant time in your career because you've stepped back and have become part-time at Sky News after 4 decades reporting crime. And I just wanted to share with our listeners just a little excerpt from the email that you wrote to your colleagues. You said it all began at a time when there was no 24-hour TV news channel in Europe. Margaret Thatcher was PM. Germany was 2 countries divided by the Berlin Wall. Kylie was still just a soap actress. And beer was a penny a pint. You made the last bit up, didn't you?
I did. I'm not that old. I can't remember a time when beer was only a penny a pint. I mean, it was a lot cheaper than it is now when I started at Sky in 1989.
And also in this note, you just reminded me that early on in your career, you've put, I tried wars, earthquakes and famines, but very quickly decided a life of crime was better for my health. Though there have been dodgy times, wanted fugitive Patrick Adams shook with anger when he pointed me out across an Amsterdam courtroom and told an extradition judge that I had ruined his children's lives. You say you didn't have the courage to stand up and tell him that he'd probably done that without your help. It was been a time for you to reflect on some incredible stories.
Yeah, there have been so many, and I can't possibly remember them all. But one that does stick in my mind is the day I took a goldfish for a walk, which I did admit to my colleagues, and I made the point in my farewell email that many of my colleagues today at Sky News weren't even born when we started Sky News. You and I were part of that founding team in 1989. But one of the crazy things I did, I was asked to take a goldfish for a walk. Somebody had invented, I use the word invented loosely, a way of taking a goldfish for a walk. I mean, I can't really put it any simpler than that. But it was a contraption with a metal ring at the bottom. It was a bit like a shopping trolley, but without the shopping bag. It had a metal ring at the bottom and it was on 2 or 4 wheels. And you simply just put the goldfish bowl with the fish inside it into this metal ring and pushed, and off you went. And I was filmed doing this. I don't even want to laugh about it now because it probably was quite traumatic for the fish, and we shouldn't have done it. But whenever people want to look at some of the crazy things we did in the early days of Sky News, and you may have done some of these yourself.
I'm pleading the fifth.
Taking a goldfish for a walk was a stupid thing.
I can't actually compete with that.
Do you remember the first time you actually went live on television?
I do remember. It was the Shetland oil spill, which just does show that I'm about 103. And I was reporting on Shetland and everybody got flu. All the correspondents and reporters got flu. And of course we were 24 hours and a hungry beast. And my news editor rang me and said, well, get ready for the breakfast lives in the morning because it's you. And I'd never been live. I'd never worn an earpiece and there were forced 10 gales and somebody had to hold on to the sticks that hold the camera in place.
Tripod.
The tripod, yes. We called them the sticks though, didn't we? And I remember ringing the overnight reporter, a man called Gary Cottrell, who I will always be grateful to because he talked me through what to do on a live. That was my first one. But in your note, I'm sorry I keep quoting for your note, but I did really enjoy it. You said there were exhilarating days too. Jewel thief Danny Jones writing from Belmarsh prison, offering to show me where he'd buried his share of the loot from the Hatton Garden heist, sneaking a camera into the House of Horrors in Gloucester, and Charles Bronson's sad, hilarious and moving voice messages from his solitary confinement cell. Well, Charles has just sent you a postcard, hasn't he?
He has. In fact, I've had 3 from him now, as well as those voice messages. And in the latest one, it was news, good news. He said that he's been given a date for his next parole hearing. He's been due one for the last few months, but it got a bit complicated because there was an incident in the prison and he allegedly attacked a visiting imam. Nobody was seriously hurt, but it did mean that his parole hearing, which was about to happen then, had to be postponed. I guess it was some kind of punishment for him. But legally, he has to have one soon, and it's coming up. It's on the 9th of January. It's not going to be a public hearing, and when I say public, in the sense that journalists would be given access via a video link. It's not open to they're never open to the public at large, but it would have been open to people like me. But sadly, it won't be. It will be a paper exercise. But the importance of this is that I covered one that was public 2.5 years ago, and it was decided that there was a need to lessen the restrictions in which he's kept. He spends an awful lot of time in solitary confinement in the most secure part of a high security prison. And it was accepted that he needs to be given a chance to show that he can mix with other prisoners to begin with and behave himself, and finally put to rest that reputation he once had as being Britain's most violent prisoner. And if he can behave himself amongst other prisoners, more of them, then perhaps that could signal the start of a move to an open prison and eventual release.
Your day-to-day life has always been full on. The story is breaking all the time. When you take a moment to pause and look back at 2025, what are the stories or the travels that you've done through Sky that really stand out for you, Martin, from 2025?
I suppose the release of the Madeleine McCann suspect, Christian Brückner, just after the summer. It was something that we thought was going to happen, but there was always the suspicion that the German authorities would find some way of keeping him in custody. He was coming to the end of a rape sentence, but as we've discussed elsewhere on previous episodes, the German prosecutor is convinced that he abducted and killed Madeleine McCann, but hasn't got enough evidence to charge him. So being there when he was released was a very big moment. We didn't see him. We had an idea of his shadow in the back of his lawyer's car that sped off. But of course, I did catch up with him, not face to face, but I organised a fixer, a producer in Germany, to interview him on our behalf. And we put the question to him, did you kill Madeleine McCann? And he was absolutely adamant in saying that it wasn't him. And that's a story that will continue into 2026, the possibility of Christian Brückner maybe being charged, or the prosecutor saying that he's never going to charge him and that he's absolutely free to go. So that kind of dominated the latter end of the year. The Muriel McKay story, the family's hopes of a new search in a different area, looking for the body of Muriel McKay, who was kidnapped and murdered 56 years ago. That will continue to keep me busy, even in my semi-retirement days. And of course, more recently, there have been 2 very big stories. The synagogue attack in Manchester and the shooting dead by the police of the attacker, and the train stabbing in Huntingdon that I covered just a few weeks ago. The man who went berserk on a train and stabbed 10 people. And his trial, if there is to be a trial, will be another big story for 2026.
And of course, you'll be still reporting for Sky News in 2026, but in a more part-time capacity. I see it more part-time as semi-retirement because I know that you're also going to be devoting more time to our podcast, to True Criminals. And let's hope that 2026 is as good a year for the podcast and for all our listeners as 2025 has been.
Or better.
Or better.
And bigger.
And bigger. Welcome to our new Patreon followers. Thank you for joining. Just to remind listeners, if you want to hear the episodes ad-free, you can. Head over to patreon.com/True Criminals. Stay with us for 3 months at Patreon and we'll send you a free True Criminals mug. Martin and I haven't even got one of those yet. Your support means everything to us. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to leave us a review. It helps us grow, reach new listeners, and keep bringing you the stories you love. This episode is brought to you by Audio Bleach Global. Our producer is Russell Barnes, with audio production by Andrew Chappell. The original score was composed by Chap Mannequin, artwork by Bleached, executive produced by Lee Mann. Follow True Criminals on Instagram at true.criminals and on YouTube at youtube.com/@true-criminals. For exclusive content and ways to support the show, visit us at patreon.com/True Criminals. For partnership opportunities, please contact us at contact@audiobleachglobal.com.